Welcome to the Sorting Congressional Bills study tutorial. In this video, I am going to explain everything you need to know to do the task. But before that, I would like to explain the motivation and the reason we have designed the system to help us sort congressional bills. As you know, each year there are thousands of bills introduced in US Congress, and it would be really good if we could automatically forward the bills to the appropriate committee. And that is our ultimate goal here. So please keep watching the video until the end and keep in mind that if you don't watch the video until the end, you will not be able to do the task. Now let's start with the basics of the system. This is how the system looks like. In the right hand side, you are seeing some of the bills that were introduced in 2012. The themes on the left hand side are giving us some ideas about what has been discussed in US Congress in 2012 overall. For example, the first theme, which includes words HIV, AIDS, older, disorder, diabetes, and diseases, tells us that some of the bills in 2012 had something to do with medical conditions, and those bills use these words a lot. Moreover, these are the bills that are highly associated with this theme. Now, how are we going to sort these bills? We are going to sort them by assigning appropriate labels that explain the content of the bill to them. We won't have to assign labels to all of the bills, but some of them. Then we will use the built-in system that automatically assigns labels to other bills. So our job here is to assign good and appropriate labels to some of the bills. Now, how are we going to create labels? The themes are going to help us create appropriate labels and assign appropriate labels to some of the bills. Now let's take a look at an example. To see the actual content of each bill, we can click on the bill and a new window will appear. After we study the content of the bill with the background information of its associated theme, we can go ahead and create labels and assign labels to the bill. So after we study this bill, it looks like HIV and AIDS is an appropriate label to this bill. So we will create a new label HIV and AIDS by typing that in the box and apply that to the bill. Then we will move to the next bill. After we study the content, we can either choose one of the existing labels from the menu or create a new label and assign that to the bill, like we did before. Or if we don't have any idea about the bill and we just want to skip it and have the automatic system decide on the label of it, we can just skip the bill. Then we will go ahead and click on the next bill to see the content. After we study the bill, it looks like public health is an appropriate label to the bill. So we will create a new label, call it public health, and apply that to the bill. Then what will happen is that the displayed bills will get updated. For each theme, what we will see is first the bills that we have manually added a label to them, and then some of the bills that the system wants us to add a label to them. These are the bills that have not been assigned a label to manually. You are encouraged to label documents in the specified order that they are presented in each theme. Now, as you see, as we create labels, the labels will appear here with a unique color, and the bills that have that label will have the same color. The last document that we have labeled will be highlighted in yellow to help us keep track of the documents we have labeled. We will then keep labeling the bills in other themes as well. After we assign 10 labels, the automatic labeler will assign labels to some of the other bills. The bills that the automatic labeler has assigned a label to them will be highlighted in gray. Now let's take a look at a bill that the automatic labeler has assigned a label to it. On top, what we see is the automatic labeler information. This means that the automatic labeler thinks that the label of this bill is Medicare and it is 15% confident. Now what we can do is that we can either approve this label or change the existing label to whatever label we think it should have, or create a new label and assign that to the bill. Keep in mind that when a bill is automatically labeled, the label for it might change in the next round that the automatic labeler is run. So if you are sure about the label of a bill, you should definitely approve it. Now there are some other things that we can do. We can rename or delete a label. Let's say we look at the labels and we feel like the label defense and army should really be defense. We can choose that label and click on rename label. We then can type in the updated label and click on OK. What will happen is that all the bills that were labeled defense and army before will now have labeled defense, and this is including the bills that the automatic labeler has assigned the label to them. Or let's say we look at the label gun violence and we feel like we don't really need that label. We can choose that label and click on delete label. Then what will happen is that every document that had label gun violence before will no longer have a label. Now let's say we want to see all the bills that are labeled defense. What we can do is that we can click on the label and a new window will appear which has all the bills that are labeled defense, and this is including the bills that the automatic labeler has assigned the label defense to them. Same as before, we can keep changing or approving the labels of these bills. We can navigate through all these bills by clicking on next and previous. At any point, if we feel like we want to exit this view and keep labeling the bills from the original list, we can close this window and label the bills from this list. It's up to you how many bills you want to label, and it's up to you how many labels you want to create. Just keep in mind that the reasonable range for the number of labels you create is somewhere between 20 to 30. If you create too many or too few labels, the quality of assigned labels will be low. Also, you're encouraged to cover as many themes as you can. You will probably end up having 2 or 3 labels for the bills in each theme. You will have a total of 40 minutes to do the task. You can stop earlier if you are already satisfied with the assigned labels. Once you are done, don't forget to click on Finish and Submit All Labels and take the post survey, which will be handed to you. The magic number that you will need to know to be able to do the study is 1364. Thanks for your attention, and we will see you during the study session.